Just days before the Hollywood vampires hit the road again, Johnny Depp steps into the rehearsal room and suddenly every camera finds him first. The official band account shared fresh behind-the-scenes shots credited to Aaron Perry, and in those frames you can almost hear the guitars warming. Up Alice Cooper, Joe Perry, and Tommy Henriksen are right there, yet the eye keeps landing on Depp-focused quiet fingers moving across the frets like the rest of the world is paused for a second. These are not stage press. Photos, they feel like real moments caught while the band tightens. The set for the O2 London opener and the rest of the Europe run the same energy that once made him a screen icon now shows up in simple rock. And role preparation and fans who have waited nearly 3 years are already locking in on every detail to lead us behind-the-scenes photos from Hollywood Vampires rehearsal show Johnny Depp right in the middle of the action with his guitar in hand, focused and steady, while Alice Cooper, Joe Perry, and Tommy Henriksen worked through the material around him, and the official band post from August 5th made it clear that these sessions are already underway just days before the first night at the O2 in London, with the rest of the UK and European dates lined up right after. The images credited to Aaron Perry capture the room in a straightforward way, no heavy staging, just the band settling into the work that comes before. A full tour run, and that is where Depp seems to draw the eye without, trying the way he stands, the way his hands move across the strings, the quiet concentration that has always been part of how he approaches music. These are the same qualities Alice Cooper and Joe Perry have talked about. In recent interviews, Cooper describing Depp as a smart guitar player with a feel like Keith Richards, the kind that cannot be taught, and Perry noting that after the first couple of songs, audiences realize he is the real deal, a player who owns his instrument the same way the rest of the band does. That honest assessment from his bandmates lands differently when you look at the rehearsal shots because they match what the photos show. A musician putting in the time rather than a celebrity making an appearance. The Hollywood Vampires formed around a shared love of classic rock and a desire to keep the spirit of those earlier days alive, playing covers of The Who, Led Zeppelin, Motorhead, The Doors, and others alongside their own material, and Depp has been part of that from the beginning, bringing the guitar work he has practiced since he was long before the acting career took over. The current rehearsals feel like a continuation of that original idea. The band is getting ready for shows that will mix those tributes with songs from their albums, and the live set they recorded at Montreux, which is now available, the timing of the photos lands at a moment when fans have been waiting nearly 3 years for the group to return to the stage, in the simple act of sharing. The rehearsal room gives a clear view of how the pieces are coming together. Depp appears in several of the frames, sometimes near Tommy Henriksen, sometimes with Buck Johnson visible in the background. The lighting is practical. The space looks like a working rehearsal hall rather than a polished set, and that everyday quality is what makes the images land. The band has said they cannot believe they are only a week out from the O2, and the schedule that follows London takes them to Cardiff, Castle, Scarborough, Open Air Theatre, Glasgow, Manchester, Birmingham, Colchester, and Halifax, before moving into Germany, France, Italy, Croatia, Austria, the Czech Republic, Hungary, and Poland. Support acts include the Jesus and Mary Chain and the Damned on selected nights, and the whole run is built around the same high-energy mix that defined earlier tours. In the photos, Depp was not positioned as the center of attention, yet he still becomes the point. The camera finds first the way his posture settles into the music, the slight tilt of his head, the familiar way he holds the instrument. All of it reads as someone who belongs in that room for the same reason the others do, because the songs matter and the work of locking them in is the priority. That focus is consistent with what Perry has said about Depp knowing when it is time to play guitar, even when other demands pull at his schedule, and it matches Cooper's observation that the feel was there from the start and remains. The photos also show the practical side of getting a tour-ready instruments check, set list refined, the small adjustments that happen when 4 players who know each other well start. Listening again after time apart, the Hollywood Vampires have always described themselves as something closer to a bar band that got bigger than expected, a group that came together to play the music they love rather than chase a particular image, and the current rehearsal images support that description. No dramatic poses, no forced intensity, just the process of preparing for nights when the lights will go up and the crowds will be waiting. The fact that the band chose to share these frames so close to the opening death says something about how they want the tour to feel open and connected rather than distant. The same spirit shows in the way fans have responded to the posts, noting the guitars, the small details in the room, the simple pleasure of seeing the lineup together again. Depp's presence in those shots does not erase the contributions of Cooper, Perry, or Henriksen. It sits alongside them the way it has on stage in the past, when the band moves through a set that can include Heroes by David Bowie, School's Out, Sweet Emotion, or their own tracks. Each member carries a share of the weight, and the rehearsals are where that balance gets tested and refined. The recent live album from Montreux offers a reminder of how the group sounds when everything locks in, and the current sessions are building toward that same level of delivery for audiences across the UK and Europe. The photos do not claim to reveal every detail of the set, Or the staging, they simply document the early days of the work, and in doing so, they give a clear sense of the energy that is already present. Depp's contribution in those frames is the steady guitar work, the attention to the music, the same qualities his bandmates have pointed to when they talk about why he fits the project, the tour that begins in a matter of days. Will test those preparations under the lights of arenas and outdoor venues, but the starting point is visible in the rehearsal room, though. Instruments, the conversations, the repeated runs through the material, and the quiet focus that keeps drawing the eye back to the same player who has been part of the band since the beginning. That is the real moment, though. Photos capture not a manufactured highlight, but the everyday work of a group getting ready to play, and the way one of its members settles into, that work with the same seriousness the others bring. The result is a set of images that feel honest, and that is why they hold attention the way they do. The band has been open about the challenges of lining up schedules, especially when day jobs demand time, yet the rehearsals are happening, the dates are set, and the photos confirm that the process is underway. For anyone following the Hollywood vampires, this is the clearest current view of how the next chapter is taking shape, and Johnny Depp is right there in the middle of it, doing the part he has always done best. With this group playing the guitar and letting the music lead, the rehearsal photos continue to circulate among fans who have followed the Hollywood vampires from the start, and each new look at those fames reinforces the same quiet truth that Johnny Depp is fully present in the process rather than simply passing through. Alice Cooper has spoken recently about the feel Depp brings to the guitar, a natural sense of timing and space that cannot be taught, and that observation lands with extra weight when you study the way Depp stands in the room, shoulders relaxed, eyes on the frets, listening as much as playing. Joe Perry has made similar points in interviews, noting that once the first couple of songs pass, audiences stop seeing the movie star and start hearing a player who belongs in the current rehearsal images offer a private version of that same transition. The camera catches Depp mid-conversation with Tommy Henriksen, or settling into a run of chords while the rest of the band locks in, and there is no performance for the lens, only the work itself. The band has always described itself as something closer to an expensive garage group that grew out of a shared love for the music of the 70s and earlier. The original Hollywood Vampires drinking club that Alice Cooper was part of on the Sunset Strip included names like John Lennon, Keith Moon, and Harry Nilsson. In the modern lineup keeps that spirit alive by treating the stage as a place to honor those influences while adding its own material. The rehearsals for this tour are the practical side of that idea, checking arrangements, refining transitions, making sure the set was flows from who cover into an Aerosmith classic or one of the Vampires' own tracks without losing momentum. Depp's role in that process has always been the guitar work, and the occasional lead vocal in the photos show him treating both with the same steady attention. The live album recorded at the Monterey Jazz Festival is now available, and it serves as a useful reminder of how the band sounds when the pieces come together, the energy, and that recording is the same energy the current sessions are building. Tour for the nights ahead at the O2 and beyond the schedule itself is ambitious, starting in London on August 12th, then moving through Cardiff, Scarborough, Glasgow, Manchester, Birmingham, Colchester, and Halifax, before crossing into Germany, France, Italy, and further east. In the support acts, the Jesus and Mary Chain and the Damned add another layer of classic alternative and punk energy that fits the overall tone of the rehearsal room, is where all of that planning becomes physical, and the images released by the band capture the early stages of that. Transformation instruments lined up, amplifiers humming, the small adjustments that happen when players who know each other's styles start listening again after time apart. Depp appears in multiple shots, sometimes centered, sometimes slightly off to the side, yet the eye keeps returning to him, not because the photos force the issue, but because his presence in the frame carries the same focused calm that has marked his contributions to the band from the beginning. Fans who have watched earlier tours will recognize the posture, the slight forward lean, the way the guitar sits against him, the quiet intensity that does not need to announce itself. The band has been open about the difficulty of coordinating schedules, especially when acting commitments, film work, and other projects pull in different directions, yet the rehearsals are happening, and the photos confirm that the group is treating the upcoming dates with the seriousness they deserve. Alice Cooper has talked about how the set list remains one of the hardest parts of any show because the catalog of possible songs is so large. Covers of The Doors, Jimi Hendrix, The Small, Faces, Motorhead, and more, alongside original material and the current sessions, are where those choices get tested in real-time. Depp's guitar parts sit inside that mix, supporting the vocals, locking with Perry's lines and Henriksen's rhythms, and the rehearsal images give a clear sense of how that balance is being worked out. The lighting in the photos is functional rather than dramatic. The space looks like a working hall rather than a stage set, and that everyday quality is part of what makes the pictures feel honest. There is no attempt to manufacture a moment of spectacle. The cameras simply record the band doing the work that comes before the lights go up, and in that context, Depp's presence reads as entirely natural, a musician among musicians rather than a guest star. The Same point has been made by his bandmates in recent conversations, Perry, describing how Depp has always wanted to be in a band and finally is, and Cooper noting that the guitar feel was there from the first jam sessions years ago. Those comments line up with what the current photos show: a player who treats the instrument as the main conversation and lets everything else fall into place around it. The tour that begins in A few days will put that preparation under the pressure of full audiences and the expectations that come with a return after nearly 3 years. But the starting point is visible in the rehearsal room. The repeated runs, the small discussions, the quiet focus that keeps drawing attention back to the same figure with the guitar that is the real story the photos tell. Not a sudden transformation or a manufactured highlight, but the steady continuation of work that has been part of the Hollywood Vampires identity since the beginning. Depp's contribution sits inside that. Larger picture supporting the songs, carrying his share of the load and remaining present for the process, and that is why the images continue to hold interest long after their first glance. The band has chosen to share these frames close to the opening date, and the decision itself says something about the spirit they want to bring to the run, and openness that lets fans see the preparation rather than only the finished product. The result is a set of pictures that feel grounded, and that grounded quality is what allows Depp's presence to stand out without any forced emphasis. He is simply there doing the work, and the camera records it the same way it records the other players, the amplifiers, the cables, the ordinary details of a rehearsal space. In the days ahead, the focus will shift to the stages themselves, the O2, the outdoor venues, the arenas across Europe. But for now, the clearest view of the tour's beginning remains those behind-the-scenes shots and the quiet concentration they capture from the guitarist who has been part of the band from the start, the same concentration that Alice Cooper and Joe Perry have pointed to when they talk about why the lineup works and why the music continues to matter. The rehearsals are the foundation, and the photos are the record of that foundation being laid one run through at a time, with Johnny Depp fully inside the process rather than outside it looking on. That is the moment the images preserve, and it is the moment that connects the current preparations to every earlier chapter of the Hollywood Vampires story. The shared love of the music, the decision to keep playing it, and the simple act of showing up in the room ready to work. If these behind the scenes moments from the Hollywood Vampires rehearsals caught your attention the way they did for so many fans, then the full story is still unfolding on stage across the UK in Europe. The band is days away from opening at the O2, and the same focus visible in those Aaron Perry photos will be there under the lights. If you want to keep following every update from the tour and the music, share this with someone who appreciates real rock, and roll moments. Leave a comment about which part of the rehearsals stood out to you most, and stay connected for more honest looks at the road ahead. The Hollywood Vampires are ready, and the next chapter is just beginning.